Good morning, it's Darlene from Darlene's Creative Studio. Today is January 1st and we're going to start our January challenge. We're going to start with day 1 and I'm going to choose a prompt. I'm going to do them in a little bit of order at the beginning because I am working on a binder and it does need me to do certain steps before I get into the inside of it. So for number 1 for January 1st, I am going to start with use a book plate. And as I stated in the video previously, I am going to use this little book and I'm going to actually take my prompt card and I'm going to put it inside the book. So I'm just going to add a couple of quick things to this little card. I'm going to distress the edges very quickly here. And I'm not sure which stain I'm using. I'm using this 4 pad. This is probably the ground espresso. It seems very dark. But we're distressing the edges. And then I'm going to use this little stamp pad set and I'm going to take out the number 1 and use my black espresso. And I'm going to put number 1 on here. Day 1. Just playing. I'm going to make this as pretty as possible. Here, I'm going to move this out of the way here and put this on here. So there we go. There is use a book plate, card number 1. I'm going to grab my glitter glue for this and just put a little bit on the back here. Now this, I had something else on the back. I had a few prompts that I didn't print cards for, and the list is on my Instagram account. You can find the list of prompts there and you can create your own cards. You can choose whatever prompts you want to use, and I am just going to insert that into my little book here. And we are going to work on our book plate. So there is January 1st. Use a book plate. And these are the different prompts that I have listed on my Instagram account. And I believe some of these I did not have printed out on my cards, so I've just taken a marker and wrote on the back of one of the other cards some of the things that I want to do, and one of them was using a book plate. So I'm just going to put this aside. I'm going to grab my binder and this is the book plate that I'm going to be using, and the reason I had to start with this one first is because when I attach it to the binder with some brads, I want the brads to come through the cardboard and then I'll be able to hide them under the paper. So again, start with the outside, use some prompts that you can to decorate the outside, then work on the inside covers, and then you can work on the pages and add all those extra little things like journaling cards and tags and buttons and all that. But start with your basics that you know you have to attach certain things with. This has got a little bit of a warp in it. So I'm working with some colored cardstocks, and I chose these colors to work with, and I think they work well with the fabrics. So that is what I'm going to be working with today. And I think I'm going to start for my book plate. I'm going to start with a little bit of black, perhaps add a little bit of this blue. And then I may use a piece of tea stained paper under there. And that will be my book plate base for the front of my binder here. So I'm going to work on that. So let's move this out of the way. I figure I'm going to want, this is where we have to figure out what size we want to use for the back of our cardstock here and how much we want of each color to show. Okay, so I'm going to get my ruler out, and I'm just going to guesstimate. I'm not going to get too technical here. So I'm going to start with the black one with about a 3 1/4 inch wide. And I do have my cutting machine over on the other side of the table. I'm just going to walk over there and cut this really quickly. So 3 1/4. Okay, so if we have that, it's 3 1/4, and then that is there. Yeah, I think that's going to be perfect. And then again, you have to decide how much of the black you want to show and how much of the blue you want to show. So I'm just going to have about 1/8 of an inch showing. And I'm just going to mark it with my pencil. And then I'm going to do the same thing for here and then here. And now I'm just going to go over here and cut this black piece. So there's my black piece, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut the blue piece to the sizes that I would like to use, and I've already marked them with my pencil. And you always want to cut the bottom piece off first so that you save yourself a bigger chunk instead of cutting it down this way. I always start with my bottom cut, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut my side cut here. Okay, so now we have, let's bring the binder back. We have our basic base of the plate, and then that will sit on there like that. And then if I want to add the tea stain paper underneath, yes, I think that's going to work perfectly. I made a little bit of a warp in this one. Let me just see if I can find my other book plates here. Always bring along a couple of extras. This one just has a little bit of a warp in it, and I'll fix that with some pliers a little bit later. Okay, so first things, let's glue this blue onto the black piece. Okay, there's our first. And you can use anything you want. You can use fabric, you can use lace. You have to get really creative with your the back piece of your book plate. And I may add some fabric to the back of that. And then what I do is I just take my book plate and I just more or less mark on the inside of how big I want this to be. And again, we'll just cut it really quickly. Go over to my cutter and give it a quick cut. And get my hand under there. There we go. So that will be my piece of tea stain paper that will go in behind as well. So there is the base of my book plate. Now you can add some fabric. I have some different fabric pieces here. And we can look at maybe adding something like this behind it. If you want to add some fabric. And that is one of the prompts, work with the little piece of fabric. So this could be one of your prompts, is adding the fabric to the back of your plate. So we could do that as well. I'm just going to make a little cut there, and with that, like that, move him out of the way, and then again we'll make another little snip, and over it that way. And then I just take my awl and I just grab the last thread and pull some out. It just helps to fray it a little bit on the ends. Just catch that last little piece of string there. Okay, so now we can add, go with me, this fabric in behind. And that will give you a little bit more texture in there. And then your book plate. So let's add that. And I'm going to use Fabri-Tac for the fabric. I don't like to use the Fabri-Tac all day long. It just has a lot of fumes and it has a strong smell. So we try not to use it all day when I'm creating. So let's put that on there. There. And then we're going to add this to the back. Okay. And we're just going to eyeball it and make sure it's straight. I have a tendency to put things on crooked. You want to straighten things out. There. I think that's. Get off your string. Get off your string. Just going to pull this edge up a bit. All right. So once you get that going, I'm not going to worry about adding this into the end, but you want to place your book plate on, and you want to center it, and then you want to draw your circles with a pencil. Like that. And I'm just going to select some of my brads. I have my little bowl of goodies here. And I did bring some brads. There we go. So I have my brads. Let me put my lid back on my glue here. Oops. Get out of the way. Okay, let's just move some of this stuff out of the way. I have a very limited space here. I'm going to need that all. Put the scissors away, put that away, put my marker away, pencil away, fabric out of the way. Okay. So now for the brad, I'm just going to put this like this. And I'm just going to use my awl and push a hole through this. And I'm going down into this cutting mat that's underneath here. And then I'm going to flip it over and do the same thing on the other side, just to make that hole a little bigger. And I also have these little extra pieces of cutting mats. You can slide that underneath so it doesn't go right through. And you're just going to make the hole big enough to fit the brad through. I'm going to take two brads. And we're going to insert the brad in there. And I like to add a little tiny bit of glue here, just to the little flaps, I call them, just so it'll hold it in place. And then I put some on the top where the brad's going to go, like that. Take away all this little webbing here. Okay, and then we're just going to stick our brad in that hole, push it through. One more. Get that one in there. That was not going very well. Let's see. Go through. I did. Good. And then I take my awl and I push it down between the two little legs. And then I roll it out, and it actually flattens your brad really well. The little legs right down to the surface. See? Spread out those little brad feet and just roll it down like that. And then I take some masking tape. Put my lid on my glue. I take some masking tape and I just cover that so that it doesn't poke through any fabrics or paper that you use on the back. So I'm just going to put a little piece of masking tape there and smooth that out. Let's see, here we go. Take a little piece of masking tape and put that over top, so that just keeps it from poking into your paper when you cover that side. And there is your book plate. You want to straighten it out, make sure it's nice and straight. And then when it dries, perfect. And then I'm going to trim this down a little bit so it slides in better. And then you just have your little piece of paper slide in, and you can decide what your word is going to be, what you're going to call the journal, but that is your book plate for the front of your binder. So that was my prompt number 1. And again, because I'm going in a certain order, I've chosen 1 or 2 prompts that will get me started on the folio. And that had to be number 1 because I wanted to put this on. Now if I decide to cover these up with the paper, that will be covered. I do want to add some lace. I just haven't decided whether it's going to go on the side. I've got this lovely lace, and then it would wrap around the front like that, and I kind of like that. Or if I want to use this lace once I get my insides in, and add a little pocket here on the inside, and I might do the pocket. I haven't decided yet, but maybe you could make some comments below in the video before I start with adding the lace, and let me know what you think, whether I should add it to the spine or if I should use it for pockets on the inside. Okay, so that's it for January 1st. I've created my book plate. I've chosen my prompt, and I've added it to my little book here, and then I'm just going to take my marker and write on the back here that I have added a book plate to the front of my binder using cardstock, fabric, and tea stained scrap, paper scrap. And that's it. And I'm just going to write here January 1st, 2020. So there's my first little prompt, and we'll work on day 2 tomorrow. Now again, if these prompts don't take very long to do, like this one was a fairly quick one, I may do 2 or 3 days and film 2 or 3 days and then put it on my YouTube channel, just because some of them don't take that long to do, but hopefully I'll try and get at least a 15-minute video out of each one. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope to see you tomorrow.